Time for another gun show report and the situation, at least in my area, what's going on in terms of gun shows and going out. Well, in the state of North Carolina, they did bring back some gun shows. I know that Raleigh, the state fairgrounds, started allowing it in the fall, and Fayetteville, down at their Coliseum, they had one open, and that's C&E gun shows. The ones here in Greensboro, the mayor has done something where they will no longer hold it at the sports arena in Greensboro, so that's gone after all these years. So the thing about gun shows is, like in my past reports, I said they started losing where you had people coming to them. You had less vendors during the slump, during the Trump administration, and they kept raising the prices, and there was an underlying political mindset to try to just shut them down or get rid of them. So there's a lot of controversy there. Well, with the health crisis, they pretty much in this state shut down everything, and one of the things is the underlying political thing is these areas, or depending who runs the city government, is trying to thwart the gun shows, okay, get rid of them. So there's a political agenda involved here also. Well, but anyway, so the only ones we had were, I told you, the little 6-shooters, that one fella. I mean, he travels the state and he has something every weekend. So even though the venue is small, what you got to pay to get in is just $5. It's a very small venue, but they're popular and he does well. So the other major promoter was C&E gun shows, and C&E covers, I think they're up in Virginia, even down to South Carolina, North Carolina. He covers a few states. So this promoter covers a good area, and his shows are they were fairly large at one time. Now that also is kind of diminished. So, and again, Winston Salem is where the show is, and usually they schedule a show every other month in normal times, okay, or when things were good. He was doing it to where every other month you could go up there. And again, state fairgrounds, using the one large building there. But the funny thing is, he has 2 different buildings that he rents. He has a larger show, and then sometimes he'll rent a smaller venue. Okay, and he had them listed for the past year. He would schedule the show, but they would constantly be canceled, okay, because of the health crisis, I believe. So finally, after almost a year, they had the venue open, and again, it was the small one. I didn't know this. I thought it would be the larger one. It wasn't. So when I went there to the show, and the reason I went is because it's a 30-minute drive. Okay, it's not 2 hours or something, it's 30 minutes. So I said, all right, I'll go down. I didn't even know about it. Someone mentioned it to me. I wouldn't have known it was there. So I attended the show. And with this other building in a small venue, you know, there was a crowd, there were people there was a line to get in. And I think they charge $10 now. It used to be $8, but if you stamp your hand, if I go back today, this is good to get me in today. So it's basically $5 a day if you wish to drive both days or live there close enough to where you can go down. So, and this is where, even though we like to think things are getting better, things are out. It's nuts. Okay, so standard thing, go to the show, there's a pretty brisk crowd, there's a line, so I get in line, I'm waiting, and of course there was all sorts of people there, but the people I spoke to were people like me that were 50 or older. You know, you just strike up a conversation waiting in line with a fella, and you talk about shooting and the prices and how things are basically insane and out of control. And these people came the same reason I did, to get out of the house, go wander around, probably, I knew I really probably wouldn't buy anything, but I just went there to go and have a morning out. So, and of course, there's a bunch of people like me that are there for the same reason. So, and this is where it gets weird right off the bat. So I'm standing in line, and when we wait, and then, they got everything to where you go up, get the ticket, go in, and exits, enter and exit, all this other stuff. So I go in there, and I'm not thinking, I didn't bring a mask or nothing, so I'm just walking in there. And I go in, and a guy comes up by the one exit there and goes, "Hey, you have a mask, sir?" And I said, no, I don't. And he goes over with a box and gives me a little mask, and it says, "Everyone must have a mask," because I seen these people, they're all putting it on. And when they were getting into the doorway, and I'm like, oh shit, I don't have a mask. But they had them. So if you wanted to come in, they gave you a mask. So I put the mask on. Figured, what the hell. And so I'm standing in line, and then the guy in front of me, guy and his wife are there. And of course, this guy has to be right in front of me. The guy goes, "You got a mask? Here, take it." He goes, "No, I'm exempt. I had a pulmonary aneurysm, and I can't wear a mask. I'm exempt." And the guy goes, "Sir, the rules are that everyone must wear a mask." And then it starts. "Well, there's a law that states that I can't do this, and there's a fine if you force me to wear a mask and endanger my life," or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And this was the kid just watching the door, and he'd give you a mask. So it starts. One of the people, one of the promoters, someone else comes out and goes, "Hey, you need a mask." So the people running this thing start coming out, and they start telling the guy, "You need a mask." And the guy starts arguing with him, "I'm not putting a mask on. I have a medical condition. I'm exempt. I don't have to wear it." And then it escalates. Then the promoter starts getting pretty belligerent with him and says, "Look, this is it. You're wearing this mask, or you're not coming in this building." And then he starts yelling the law. There's a law that he doesn't have to wear a mask. All this other stuff. And it just gets into this huge screaming match. I mean, these people were screaming at the top of their damn lungs. Then the guy starts yelling, "My freedom, my freedom, look at these people, look what they're doing." So now there's like this 1776 type protest of freedoms and everything. And then while the two of them are arguing about the law, this other individual comes running up along the side of the line and goes to the promoter. He goes, "That is true. What he's saying is true. There is a law and a statute that says that he must, if he has a medical exemption, that you must let him in no matter what, blah, 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 blah." So this was like let's call him a line lawyer. A lawyer who gives you legal advice while you're waiting in line to go to a movie, gun show, whatever, So now we got this legal thing going on. And I mean, these people were getting intense and yelling. And the person, I guess the promoter who works for the promoter, just started yelling. "You put on a mask." He goes, "Simple as this. Put a mask on, or you're not coming in the building." He goes, "This is the county ordinance or city ordinance. You're not getting around it." Screaming, yelling, and then he goes, and the people are in the little window selling tickets, and the guy goes, "That's it, I had enough." He goes, "Do not sell him a ticket." And of course, by now, he's up to the counter. I'm behind him. I'm trying to wait to go, and these people are freaking out and yelling and screaming. And that guy's screaming at the person in the window, "Do not sell him a ticket." He goes, "I've had enough," or whatever. Then he was threatening to call the police, and the guy goes, "Yeah, what are you going to arrest me for?" And back and forth, and then finally I got my ticket, got into the venue, and that was it. But all of this drama, in a way, everything has changed in our society. And yeah, I know, I used to say I don't really wear a mask. I've gone into stores and that, not wearing a mask. I've never been thrown out or not served, even though it's a state thing. But when you come to look at what's going on here, okay? Yeah, the guy I think was trying to prove a point, but the promoter, you have to understand that's a business, okay? And they have been out of work for a year, okay? They make money, you know, they pay the rent to rent the building, they collect money from the tables, and they collect money from when you enter. So this is a business, okay? And it's a business that has a prejudice against it. They're trying to find any excuse to shut down the gun show, is what it is, okay? And if they told them that you cannot have anyone in this building without a mask on, because there probably was people wandering around watching this. There were police presence as usual and this and that. But probably if somebody was wandering around without a mask, they'd make a phone call and they could probably have shut the whole show down. So you can't blame the promoter. And I understand what this individual in front of me was saying. Basically, he was going to go in there and he ain't going to wear a mask. And, you know, it is true that if you're exempt, you're supposed to be in there. But we're in a situation now where it just creates havoc. There's nothing normal no more. There's just no going to the gun show and that. And yeah, I hated putting the mask on, breathing, my glasses get fogged up and that, but, you know, I wanted to go there. Now that I know that, you know, I don't know, because it's getting, it gets ridiculous. This is how ridiculous it is, but you see how it turned pretty ugly and serious real quick. So, I don't know. But anyway, let's get into going to the show. So, small venue. In a small venue, you get a lot of odd dealers. Usually the larger one, he has more like pawn shops, gun shops, and that and everything. But so we go in there, and some of the usual dealers I seen, the larger dealers, and there was a whole variety of guns and stuff. There were new guns. There's, you know, old guns. A lot of these fellas like me be a one-man show having some unusual used stuff and that. And there was, you know, the raffle ticket takers and all this other stuff. But as far as prices, you know, same thing, surplus, everything's sky high. There were some like pawn shops and that have all these modern guns and that, and some prices were steep, some weren't. People were selling a lot of guns, but then now we come to the ammo. Okay, I did not see anybody wandering around other than with a couple boxes of like 22 Thunderbolts. Okay, and anyone who had ammo set up there, it was outrageous. Okay, I mean, there were some people selling reloading supplies, and they had a couple 8-pound kegs of powder, not a big variety, maybe one type of powder. They didn't have a whole array, and I didn't even ask what they were getting for powder. But I went to a table, and a guy had some things, and he had some primers, and I could tell from the box there was some brand, and they were old. Small pistol, because he had large rifle, small pistol, and I can't even remember the brand. And the box was weird looking, so it's either an off brand and it was old. 1,000 primers, $175. Okay, people were selling 200 rounds of steel case 9mm ammo for like, it wasn't quite $1 a round, but it was like $180 or something, or $175 for 200 rounds of steel cased ammo, the cheap stuff. So you know, I had a couple guns I was trying to sell, walked around with them, got some interest in them, you know, but no takers. Everyone's looking to buy it for nothing. But I did have some, you know, a lot of people look at what I had. I did run into 2 subscribers. They came and talked to me. I spoke with both of them a little bit. People recognized me. Hey, you're the Cobra 49. You know, I'm like, yeah. So I'm glad I met you guys and talked to you. But it was basically, and this venue always is kind of mediocre. But there was somebody dumped a Japanese rifle collection, so there was one dealer that bought this, had several examples of some nice Japanese rifle with nice price tags on them too. And it wasn't that terrible of a show, but and you did see some people leaving with guns, but not as much as before. Okay, usually when you go to the show, like I went to the little 6-shooters, you'd be standing in line and all these people are coming out with huge bags with ammo. Okay, basically you see a lot of people come in real early and leave with the ammo. But the prices are so friggin' high, and even when you get your email alerts, anyone who has anything in stock, most of your online dealers, the prices are high. Okay, if stuff is available. And of course, the guys in this show, I can't really call them dealers, they're just somebody who maybe rented a table and put a bunch of stuff up, something, like what I do. They really were, they had a ton of, the prices were outrageous. So there was not a lot of buying activity, a lot of people milling around, good crowd, everybody, spending the morning or the afternoon going out. But it still isn't getting better. Okay, primers cannot be found. Gunpowder, like I said, I've seen some, but and nothing has a price tag on it. So, that's why when I walked by, I didn't even bother. Because I forget what the one reloading table, they had little bags of brass and all kinds of other stuff there. Some tools, some people had, dies, presses, but they only had like 4 or 5 dies, and they're all some odd caliber, not the popular calibers, where, like the 9mm or 308 or 223. There's like 225 Swift and all this other stuff. So there was some stuff available, but the selection wasn't there. And like I said, everything was pretty much ratcheted up to where you didn't see a lot of activity. And there were 2 or 3 just ammunition tables. I didn't even go look at prices, but they were busy and people were buying something. I guess people just get to the point where, yeah, they got to pay more, but they'll just buy 1 box or whatever. Nobody was carting off cases or huge bags like you usually see, so that's kind of going down. And I think people are fed up and they're not buying into it or not paying. Like I told you in the past, where the guy told me he paid $30 for 100 primers. And I know the store that he's going to up in Burlington. The guy will only sell you 100 primers at a time in one day. He said, if you want another 100, come back tomorrow. And he's getting $30 for 100. So, and people go, it's price gouging, it's evil, this and that, but it's just plain and simple. The demand is so high, they can't make this stuff fast enough. Okay, there's no conspiracy, there's no nothing. We're just in this weird thing. And a lot of it boils down to is not so much the manufacturers or the people selling shit high, it's people in general, like this whole commotion in the lobby. Okay? People just have a screwed up attitude about everything. And there is an underlying thing where people do not want gun shows. There's a prejudice. There's people out to stop this, even though there's no law where they can stop it, but they will put every type of obstacle and roadblock in to thwart this, or just make it to where, nobody goes to these events because they're just a pain in the ass to get there. It's weird. So, well, that's my thoughts on it, guys. I don't know. Gun shows, I know in other states they're going good, and guys tell me that they go there and everything's fine, but here it's just gotten muddled up to where it's really, there's pressure, from powers to be, and plus people are fed up and, touchy and ready to argue. So I'm gonna see if this is gonna be a continuing trend as we go along.